Once upon a time, reading instruction simply meant memorizing words on a chalkboard. Today we know that 1 in 5 read the world differently. So how did we get here? What is structured literacy and why does it work?
Welcome to 29 Slides, because every lesson has a story.
Structured literacy changes lives by changing the way teachers teach.
Hi, I'm Tara. In this video, we will look at how the Orton-Gillingham approach and later the Barton Reading and Spelling System brought that change to life. We will learn when these methods began, how they work, and why they have helped so many, especially those with dyslexia, learn to read and spell.
Structured literacy teaches reading step by step, showing how letters and sounds fit together.
The Orton-Gillingham approach is the original methodology. It is explicit, everything is clearly explained, it is structured, lessons follow a logical sequence, and it is multisensory. Students learn by seeing, hearing, and doing.
The Orton-Gillingham approach provides a solid framework that educators use to build effective lessons to help students read, write, and spell with understanding and skill.
Before the Orton-Gillingham approach emerged, classrooms looked very different. In order to understand its impact, we must first step back and see how reading was taught a century ago.
Back in the 1920s and 30s, most classrooms looked and sounded much the same. Rows of desks, one lesson for all. Teachers taught reading through rote memorization, often called the whole word or look-say method. Students were expected to recognize entire words by sight rather than learning how letters and sounds connect. Teachers used basal readers. These were level textbooks like the Dick and Jane series that relied on repetition and pictures to help children memorize words. If a student struggled, it was often seen as a lack of effort, not a difference in how their brain processed language. Teachers led from the front, while students copied, repeated, and memorized words from their primers. And for students who struggled, there wasn't much support. The class simply moved on to the next lesson, leaving many bright minds behind.
This was the mainstream world of education when reading pioneers Orton and Gillingham first changed the way we think about reading instruction. Dr. Samuel Orton was a neuroscientist who worked with patients recovering from brain injury. During that work, he noticed something unexpected. Some children with no injury at all struggled in much the same ways as his patients. He realized these challenges weren't about effort or ability, but about how the brain processes language.
Terms like word blindness were common at the time, but Orton used strephisymbolia, meaning twisted symbols, to describe what he saw. Although the term dyslexia was coined in the 1870s, it wouldn't be commonly used until decades later. In the 1920s, Orton began studying these learners, and by the early 1930s, he teamed up with educator Anna Gillingham. Together, they laid the groundwork for what we now call the Orton-Gillingham approach.
Anna Gillingham grew up on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, learning from her teacher parents.
She later became one of the first school psychologists in the United States and shifted her early work with gifted students toward understanding why some children struggled to read. During her fellowship with Dr. Orton, she blended his neurological research with practical classroom methods. Working with Bessie Stillman, she organized the English language into a clear, teachable system that formed the basis of the Orton-Gillingham approach. She's remembered for saying, "Go as fast as you can, but as slow as you must." In today's lingo, this simply means meeting the child where they are.
Orton and Gillingham realized that children with dyslexia benefit most from reading instruction that is clear, organized, and multisensory. In many of those early classrooms, a child might see the word ship on a page and try to memorize it by sight. They would be encouraged to notice the shape of the letters and maybe even to look at the picture beside it for context. But for some students, when the word appeared somewhere else, out of this context, it no longer looked familiar. Under Gillingham's approach, that same word became something to explore. Students learned to listen to each sound and connect it to a letter. They might move tiles, trace the letters, or write them in sand as they spoke each sound aloud. Slowly, they began to understand. Ship isn't just a picture or a memorized word on a page. It is a pattern that the brain can decode, one sound at a time.
This approach laid the foundation for nearly every successful dyslexia and reading program that followed, including the Barton Reading and Spelling System. By the 1990s, the ideas behind Orton-Gillingham had taken root around the world. In the UK, for example, Jolly Phonics introduced multisensory phonics, and many other new structured literacy programs were emerging, all grounded in the same understanding of how the brain learns to read. Susan Barton was inspired by her nephew who struggled with reading. Determined to help, she dove into Orton-Gillingham-based methods, learning what worked and what didn't. From that research, she created a system anyone could use without years of training. Her goal was simple: make effective reading instruction both consistent and accessible. The Barton Reading and Spelling System takes that framework, first introduced by Orton-Gillingham, and offers a fully scripted program, guiding tutors and parents step by step through lessons, word lists, and specific activities designed to help every student succeed.
The Barton system starts with phonemic awareness. This is the ability to hear and work with individual sounds and words. This sound-by-sound approach builds the foundation for accurate reading and spelling. The idea that reading is simply a set of patterns and rules begins to form. Once students understand the sounds, the Barton system uses clear and memorable rules to turn those sounds into words. A clear example of how the Barton system simplifies complex spelling patterns is the milk truck rule.
When the letter K sound K comes right after a short vowel, it's usually spelled CK, as in truck, duck, and sack. When the K sound does not come directly after the vowel, when another consonant comes in between, it's spelled with a single letter K, as in milk, bank, and shark.
By moving tiles while seeing, saying, and touching the sounds, students reinforce the pattern in a visual and tactile way, making it easier to remember. It's simple, it's visual, and highly accessible. Exactly as intended. Research now confirms what Orton and Gillingham realized decades ago. Dyslexia stems from differences in how the brain processes language, not in effort or ability. Modern brain imaging shows that structured multisensory teaching can help build new reading pathways.
As our understanding of reading and the brain continues to evolve, the reliability of structured literacy remains a proven pathway for those with learning differences, leading to true success and confidence. Thank you for joining me in this brief exploration of the history behind structured literacy. See you next time as we continue exploring how education has evolved.
Every lesson has a story, and I'm so glad you were part of this one. See you in the next 29.